Welcome to How We Made It, Season 2, Episode 3. This is F1 Miami, our biggest undertaking as a company ever. We're going to watch our recap video, but then we're going to big picture it, talking about everything that went into an enormous production week.
The campus is insane.
When you think about a global city, think Miami. I mean, what better city to host F1?
I haven't experienced a new race have this sort of a buzz.
The energy is crazy. We're having great people, great drinks, great time.
Oh my gosh, feel the rush, about to turn it on.
Hello there, Miami. Are you guys ready to party?
Levels.
I cannot wait to see these cars on the track.
Let's go. See so many people in the grandstand, it definitely motivates us.
It's lights out and away we go. Max Verstappen wins in Miami.
I still get chills just thinking about this week, thinking about everything that went into it. Ben Walnick, co-founder of Let It Fly Media, Billy Quach, our creative director, and guys, the first thing that comes to mind, give me one word on F1 Miami 2022.
Complex. Insanity.
What made it so insane?
The amount of people we brought, I mean, total on our staff was about 36. A good amount was already in Miami, but we probably had 11 to 12 Let It Fly employees come in. We had maybe 11 to 12 freelancers come in from around the US, and then we had maybe 11 to 12 people from the Miami Dolphins. So it was a Avengers type squad of content creators that we threw together, and so that's what the insanity comes from.
The Tuesday night parking lot with Billy talking to this entire group that had assembled before our first meeting was truly a Thanos moment.
Yeah. Hey, I love that you called it the Avengers of creatives. We had people from all over the country coming in for both video and photo. Some played the role of editor. Some were taking various portions of this massive footprint, about 5 times the size of what you'd usually have for the Super Bowl, and just try to cover everything. I mean, Ben, what was our directive from the Miami Grand Prix?
We had it split into 8 zones, and it was every single thing that will engage a fan. Every restaurant, every shop, every seat, every view you could possibly have. And we had a shot sheet where it was, hey, we kind of need you guys to capture everything for the records because this is the first one ever. So we need photos and video to really capture every square foot of this enormous track that if you had to walk from one end to the other, it took an hour with no people.
It was pretty tiring. I think the steps came in at over 110,000 for yours truly. And I was in the stadium. When we first got approached and when we first started talking with the Miami Grand Prix crew, Billy, you're starting to think big picture and probably giving yourself a headache. But how do you figure out how to capture all this and put people in positions to succeed, and even who does it?
Probably one of my favorite parts of the planning process is figuring out where everyone's going to be, what number of spots we're given in terms of credentials, what are our deliverables and what we need to cover big picture wise. So figuring out people's strengths in terms of video or photo or concerts or fan interaction or food, and just trying to place people in the right spot to be as successful as possible. So it was kind of almost like a board game where after our first meeting with F1, they gave us a huge map to kind of get a lay of the entire land. It was like a blueprint of the place. And then I just started using poker chips as people to
there are poker chips in that room.
place people in spots and see, does this work or what combination of people we should go where.
I want to shout out the Miami Grand Prix because, I mean, how many people call us and say we want 36 people on staff? We want to do this much to capture it. It says a lot about where F1 is, where this event, considering that Miami Gardens has hosted some enormous events, that this was one that called for a crew this size. Ben, just from a company standpoint, what did this mean for us? And once we get on site, what was it like to see how our staff and the freelance staff and the Dolphins staff would kind of come together? How did that all come together for you?
Well, my first thought was we have 2 months, and we now will have lost our creative director for 2 full months because we needed Billy to take this on and be the project manager and not only find the people, but help our staff figure out what the logistics are going to be. And the logistics that went into this was a lift.
It was insane.
It was insane.
Because you're trying to break down, when we say logistics, when you come down to the very week of the event, you want to figure out where everybody is at any given half hour to hour interval, making sure that your entire enormous shot list has been captured. How difficult was that?
It was incredibly difficult. And the shot list was ever changing, and things were getting added all the time, which, I don't blame, the Miami staff at all for adding stuff, because they're getting asks all the time. It's the first year. There's things that slip through the cracks. Well, this got added at the last second. This thing just got built. Can you go capture that? And so that ever-changing list was a lot. The logistics of who's riding in what vehicle to get to the stadium, because we had limited amount of parking passes, was things that we were working on the day before during the event to figure out for the next day. And it was what it meant for our company, going back to that part of the question. I mean, this is the flagship, for Let It Fly Media, where we can point to this event and say, we were given 2 months. We had to cover an insane amount of footage, shot list, an event that none of us had covered before, because
Right.
F1's, mostly new.
Because it hadn't existed.
We can go back to it and say, there's no event across the country that we feel like that we would fall short in. We can do anything.
I want to take a moment to shout out event planners in general. You can think about everything. We're going to get that great shot. We're going to get that car with that person come by at this time. By the way, do we have enough water? Do we have access points to upload footage? Like all these things. And I know there's a few people on the Miami Grand Prix staff, Billy, who you might want to shout out just for their roles that they played in making this happen.
Miami Dolphins, they had Hero, who his name is literally Hero.
Yeah, like, speaks for itself.
H-I-R-O. But he is a hero to the entire operation, because he was the key tech glue guy that kept it all together and gave us access points around each zone to upload footage. Because on top of all the logistics, housing, food, parking, shooting, batteries, on top of all of that, we still have to create content.
Yeah.
And we have to edit videos, daily sizzles, library of photos each day for social team to use, single clips for social, all sorts of deliverables, branded content as well, on top of all the logistics of where does our footage go, SSDs, hard drives. It was a crazy lift.
Well,
and
yeah.
I don't know how we do it without the Miami Dolphins' help.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Lauren and Olivia and a lot of them who, forget just the video part, they had to have all of it come together somehow. You think about the amount of celebrities on site. I mean, I casually looked around and I saw Michael Jordan. Like, oh, hello, that's just the most famous athlete of all time who's probably still living. The other part of this too is, if you're listening or watching, like, what is the content that we're capturing? Because you see the F1 broadcast, you know that is taken care of. I'll point out that they also had an on-site broadcast team who, if you were in the stadium or if you're walking around this massive footprint, you see these big screens, and that's its own feed. So why have us? Well, mostly just to show off that it was a success. I mean, what does that mean, Ben, to be able to showcase that?
Well, I mean, I think we saw in a recent article how much it meant to the community of Miami. I think that $350 million was brought to the community of Miami from this race.
Yeah.
Us capturing every single piece of that campus, I think, is content that they'll use going forward, not only on their social accounts, but helping them with sponsorships and to giving content to their vendors, because F1's kind of a different beast to a lot of different sports, to where it's really hard to get the access that we had. And maybe the concert vendor, the speaker vendor, or the guy that laid the asphalt for the actual track, like, he would love to have had a camera person there to capture this event so he could sell it on his website. And there were a lot of requests of, hey, do you have this piece of the campus? Do you have this signage? Do you have the plants that were in this zone and stuff like that? That it's things that you don't really think about top of mind, but we were there to kind of create this entire archive and library. And then on top of all of that, working with their social team, like the Peyton and the Stewarts on the Miami Dolphins staff, that they're working with us and they're looking at our Slack channel, which I want to talk about Slack and how that was all organized, because I think that'll be really interesting to creatives out there. But cherry picking the very best content and just like, hey, here's 50 different things to choose from. What do you guys want to post today? We've got it.
Let's talk about the real-time stuff, the stuff that was going out during the week. As you saw in the video that we played at the opening here, that is a recap kind of encompassing everything. But every day there were certain events, even before people came in, that were going on that we wanted people who were kind of interested, maybe even unaware totally of what all was going on, to get on social media and see, oh, stuff's happening. They're close. This is what's going to be part of this event. When we talk about trying to organize all this stuff and then get it turned around quickly, and maybe this references Slack channels, but also just personnel. Billy, how do we do it?
So the breakdown of the squad was basically 8 videographers, 8 photographers, 2 additional pool photographers, 3 members of a branded content team, and 4 full-time editors on site.
And we say branded content, we're saying like McLaren, Ferrari.
Yeah, there was a couple of deliverables that were just specific to certain sponsorship branded content deals that F1 Miami had. So we had a team dedicated to them. We had, I think, 5 to 6 producers that helped the videographers grab sound bites and just help kind of carry gear and water around. And then we had 2 to 3 executive producers and then me at the very top. So that was kind of the breakdown of the crew. I don't think I'm missing anyone, I hope, but
loggers.
Oh yeah, we had 4 loggers
and then editors.
And yeah, the 4 editors. So basically, I had to worry about getting photos out and video content out at the same time. So, the only experience I have with real-time editing content is from my LCC gig. So I kind of took that NFL LCC workflow to this project and said, we're going to basically do what we do, at the NFL level whenever we need to get content out. And that's basically using Slack to upload files to somebody to grab and either edit that content or post that content.
So we had melts that were going and being delivered throughout the day. Basically, you would do your job. You would submit what you did to a larger ecosystem, but that wasn't even the entire ecosystem, because you guys, Ben, Andrew, and Billy, were kind of there managing the entirety of it. Was it weird for you? You're so used to being with the camera and being boots on the ground to never leave the press box, which was our HQ, for this event. Was it strange?
It was a little strange, but it was actually kind of nice to not have to worry about, a camera or is my stuff charged or whatever. On the flip side of that, you got to worry about 16 to 20 other people's camera and making sure they're all set. So it definitely was a role that, I don't normally do. And I don't think anybody normally does like that. This role was just absurd, being in charge of 20 creatives for one event.
Yeah.
But my experience with the camera and, having that past experience of being the person shooting and gathering that content, it was easier for me to kind of help direct and lead from the press box and just lead through Slack, like, hey, I have this shot idea, or hey, don't forget this. Definitely a different aspect of being a content creator, but it was definitely a lot of fun. It was one of the most fun I've had at one of these events.
If you're listening to this and you're a creative, and especially if you're younger and your job is to grind, your job is to take a camera, go, shoot, upload, put stuff together, like that's your life. Our goal, I think, in this, and I'm sure you guys would agree, would be that if you were that role in this staff, that's all you had to think about. We didn't want you having to think about the other 20 people who were having to do similar things. But when you have so many people who you are trying to make sure they are armed with where to be, what to get, where to get food from, where to get drinks from, all these things. Billy, what was the biggest learning experience for you that maybe a younger creative can appreciate what it does take to make all that come together from the top down?
You're never going to be able to cover everything. You could only do so much to prepare for a huge event, whether you are the only shooter or you are part of a team or you are in charge of a team. So as much as we worked on this project pre-production wise in terms of all the planning and thinking about stuff. Like, it was just super, super tough to think of every scenario possible, but we tried to cover as much as possible. So when things do come up, we're kind of somewhat prepared.
Yeah.
And you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
You have to be ready that something is going to go wrong, something is going to get added, something's not going to be ready, and someone that's supposed to be there is going to have to now go there. Someone's going to fall and is not going to be available for the rest of the day.
We got to shout out
Chit-chat.
Jordan Chapman. Jordan Chapman had, we'll just say, a incident of heat where he passed out on a van and cracked his tooth, and that's putting it lightly. And he had to sit out. He had to go just recover. And thankfully, we saw him at the end of it. He was A-okay, but that's the type of thing where you never know what's going to happen. We were on a shoot with you one time where you got sick the very morning of the big shoot in Kiowa, and it's like, oh God, we're down somebody, and we never could have prepped for that. I do want to give you some credit, Billy, because you took some time from your camp counselor days to come up with some what turned out to be really helpful stuff. Please explain for the audience what this was.
So basically, back in my college days, I was a orientation leader, orientation mentor, and I did that all 3 summers because it was the most fun job I've ever had in my life. Like, it was 4 weeks.
Wow. Ouch.
No,
Ouch.
I would rather do orientation.
Right in front of your boss.
Yes.
That's guts. That's
Yes.
gutsy.
Most fun job I've ever had in my life to this day.
He doubled down.
I'm not scared about that.
All right,
We had
Ben.
2 weeks of training.
Got some things to think about here.
Then you had 4 weeks of herding incoming freshmen.
Yeah.
And trying to break the ice, play games, like get them, ready for college life.
Building
And
camaraderie.
the amount of skills that I took from that into this project was actually a huge part of it, because you're bringing together a group of creatives that most probably have never met each other or worked together in real life. Like, I'm sure a lot of us know each other on social media and all that, but
Yeah.
to get 36 people, creatives from across the US into one team, on the 3rd or 4th day, we started playing games. We started playing Wachichi, which is one of the games that I started playing at orientation. I actually started playing that in high school.
Yeah.
So I brought it to orientation, and I became huge at orientation.
Categories
So
as
then-
well.
Yeah, we played categories. We did a lot of just like games that just, kept try to keep the mood light, because it was sunrise, sunset, long days.
Yeah. Our slogan, is it slogan?
I'd say it's more of a motto.
Our motto is create more. And we take it seriously. We really do. What is an example of create more on this shoot? Because we try to apply it to anything that we do, and I feel like it was really applied on this one.
I mean, I think this video is an example of our create more motto, because this video wasn't even supposed to be done.
Really?
Yeah. We were supposed to do a daily sizzle Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Which we did 3. Farkas did those 3.
Okay.
And then we were supposed to do a full week recap that was probably in the 3 to 6 minute range, but that one wasn't due until a week after the event. So while we were kind of just sitting there throughout the week, I was like, yo, J-Law, do you want to do a weekend recap, but let's do it under a minute and just turn that so they could post it the next day. Yeah. And then on top of that, we'll still do the full 3 to 6 minutes, but we didn't want to wait a week later when that was due to give it to the social team to post. So
I mean, that's by far the best example. I think there were other ones where I think Owen from our branded content team,
Owen Schatz.
yeah, he did
Man.
like a piano, almost like Ocean's 11, just very quiet, slow moving, where only one thing was moving in each shot. That really was awesome. I think the CEO of the Miami Grand Prix posted it on his own account because he thought it was awesome.
I want to shout out Owen. That is an Owen edit.
Yes.
He's done a few of those now, and very inspirational in terms of how can I apply that to something we do. So shouting him out
and
big time.
J-Law did another one too that was before the gates open.
Yeah.
Here's here's some of the views that you're
Just
going to see.
scene
type thing.
setters.
Yeah, scene setter.
I even threw an edit together, the photo slideshow.
Yeah.
And did like an edit just using the photos.
A Billy
That
Quach
wasn't,
edit.
like on the list of, hey, we have to do a photo slideshow on Saturday.
Yeah.
I was just kind of sitting there. There's phenomenal photos coming in from our 8 photographers on staff. And I was like, what if we just did a slideshow? And we gave it to the social team and they posted it because I had some time. Like we just constantly fed the social team content and just blew out the numbers that we were supposed to do.
I think on the front end, like you figure out, all right, what do we know we're capable of? What makes sense? What do you guys need? And then where there are those pockets where you suddenly realize we have more photos available to share, we have some time to do this. I think usually someone who you're working for and with will appreciate that you opted to take that time to #create more. All right, let's talk about the video. We'll wrap it up with this. Just some of our favorite moments. I think a lot of our editors had the tall task of wrapping an entire week of insane amount of footage into this one minute recap. We had daily recaps. This is the video we've chosen to show in this episode. In this one, there's a few that stick out to me. I love the Charles Leclerc when he raises his eyebrows. Like that was with like the ding. That's amazing. Again, I really want to shout out our team because so little of this, if anything, is any race footage. Like you sort of see a car every now and then, but there's so much more to it. What do you guys think is the big takeaway from some of the stuff that went into this video?
Well, I'll start with shouting out Justin Law because he was the editor for the full weekend recap. We had Alex Farkas doing the daily sizzles, Friday, Saturday, Sunday sizzles, but then Justin Law did the entire like Friday through Sunday sizzle.
And I will say this, like, big shout out to Farkas too, because I feel like they were sitting right next to each other and they took it as a competition. Like, oh, you did that? Well, I'm going to do this. And it really elevated the product.
Yeah. It was cool to see like Farkas do his 3 first and then Justin just like had
bided
to,
his time.
be patient and wait for his turn. And then we had Brandon doing our photo edits and single clip reels. And then Jordan, he was supposed to do some photo editing and single clips, but we lost him due to heat.
Shout out Brandon
so
for stepping up.
For stepping in and basically taking 2 editing roles under one. So our editors crushed it because also they're getting footage from 8 different people.
Yeah.
9 even if we throw Owen in that group.
I know all of it's really good, but it's just I commend the editors because there is footage from all over the place that they made work really, really well.
It's a dope video, and Justin Law crushed it. Like all the transitions, going through the melts that he had from each day. There's probably, upwards of 16 melts a day times 3.
And I'll say, I think some of my favorite parts of the video, one is the like champagne pop transition ending with the girl at the beach, like, giving the hand sign out of the water.
Yeah, that's sick.
That's an amazing one. And then the whole speed of the video, you get the F1 speed because of the amount of cuts and how fast it moves. And it all starts with that levels drop.
Yep.
It's one of the best drops we've ever had in a Let It Fly Media video. And it just takes off from there.
Levels.
And it's just like every single time I see the video, I feel more energized after I've watched it.
That's the goal, I think. And I want to commend Justin and Alex for that mindset. And they do it in their edits. If you see some of their stuff individually, it's just like, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be something you walk away, you're like, that was sick. Not necessarily everything having to be that was really deep and moving. So credit to them big time. Final thoughts?
There's so many moving pieces to a project like this. And if any one of those pieces is failing, everything could crumble, whether it's Billy at the top all the way down to our editors missing a crucial shot or someone missing something from a shot list or the branded content team not getting something done on the timetable they needed to get done. It's literally everyone had to chip in for this to be a success. And there was a lot of chaos with this being the first race, and all the different departments across it crushed it. But like being able to go back and look and say, I wouldn't change anything about the content we did.
Yeah.
I was just super proud of the team.
I'm ready to do it again. Like I'm ready to do it.
Don't
with
hurt
the
your brain
knowledge
thinking
of doing one, because it's like to have the success that we have after one. And, I know we had our debrief on it and, we didn't think it was 100% success. Like, I'm ready for round 2 to know what we're going into and to just, do it all even better.
I think it's live events is a pillar of what Letterfly Media. It's what we do. It's what we do well. It's one of the many things that we do well. And to be able to, again, look at this one and how expansive it was and say that was a success, it just excites me. It's like, what's next? We're ready.
Also, shout out Jack Washer for getting these fans to say vroom vroom, but in the coolest way possible. Go search that out. Go check out the entire F1 Miami Grand Prix Instagram and social pages. They're still putting stuff out. This is going to last an entire year, and then hopefully we'll see them again next time around. That's how we made it, episode 3.